You gotta love that little startup, eh?
Yeah, we'll pad it out a bit with that, I think. G'day, everybody. It's Crafty here from Craftworks Distillery, and my good mate,
The Todd.
the Todd.
And as you can see, we're a little bit short on guests.
Yes, we're struggling with a few technical issues, and we blame Tasmania for this.
That's right.
So
it is a bit of a black hole.
They're in the black hole. So we're meant to be shooting the ship tonight with Bill McHenry from McHenry Distillery, and we will at some stage. We've got Luke, local nerd,
we're going to try and bring him in now.
Yeah.
So just bear with me.
Yeah. Everyone talk amongst themselves.
You can hear him.
Oh, we've got picture. We've got picture. We've got picture. Have we got sound? Have we got sound? Bills, are you there?
Hey, guys.
You are. B1 and B2.
Easton, we read you.
1. Hi, fellas.
Right.
Okay, we'll see how we go. We'll see how we work through these technical issues, but we will rip into it. So, guys, for those who don't know, this is another episode of Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit. The idea behind shooting the shit is that we're distillers and we have conversations with friends in the industry. And so we thought, how cool would it be to just shoot the shit with people in the industry? So we chat with distillers, we chat with maltsters, we chat with cooperers, we chat with basically anyone who helps us with our product. So putting product in a bottle, but also we'll be talking to bartenders and getting their point of view. We'll be talking to other people in the industry, mostly local distillers, but we have in the past interviewed a couple of internationals as well, people. So tonight we have Bill McHenry from McHenry Distillery, B1, and his right-hand man, or left, depends on which position you're in, B2, who goes by the name of Bill. So,
now they are muted, so we need you to unmute yourselves, fellas.
Yep.
There you go.
Now you're unmuted. Right. So how are you, lads?
We're cold.
Look, if you
Cold.
let me speak, probably better if you turn the mute back on. That's all I can say first.
We're tired and we're happy, but cheers to everyone online.
Cheers. Yeah. Well, let's start with what's in everyone's glass, as we always do. So we're going to start with my top left-hand corner, Luke, local nerd, part of Aussie Craft Distillers Shooting the Shit. Mate, what's in your glass tonight?
I have the Company You Keep.
Yep.
By Mobius Distilling, my local, just down the road from me.
What is it?
It's a dry gin.
Very nice.
Very nice. I've been told by the fellas that it goes best with soda water. So that is what is.
That's what you're on to tonight. Awesome. That's good.
I've nearly knocked off the bottles, so it's not too bad.
Right. Awesome.
Definitely
okay. And on the right top for me, my good mate, fellow creator, and the Todd, as we know him. The Todd. Todd, what do you got in your glass, mate?
Cora Distilling. What have we got here? French podcast.
French podcast, nice.
62.5%. Great drop. So,
all right, so it's a bit of a theme. We've got a couple of New South Wales products there tonight. And what I'm drinking is, I'm actually breaking the rules a bit because we don't drink our own product. We talk about other people's products. But thank you to Telstra. I couldn't get reception at my distillery, and I happen to have a bag of my alcohol in the car. So I'm in Portland at the Coro pub, which is one of my local pubs, and this is what we're drinking, which is the Return of Batman, which is my little project with Riverbourne Distillery. So it's a vatting of the two. So that's cool. So what's in your glasses, Bills? You like it? So what do you got, Bill McHenry? What's it?
Oh, they've gone.
No, just at the critical time.
Oh no! Oh dear! All right. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna leave you. I'll just leave you two to fill the space for a little while. While I fill a buzz.
All right. No worries. All right. Okay. All right, guys. So
what are we going to talk about?
Well, what are we doing this weekend? What's special this weekend?
Let's face it, we're coming into World Whiskey Day, and we're on our pilgrimage to Blackgate Distillery to camp out under the stars, warm up around great big fires, listen to some great music, and just generally have drams with some really good mates.
Yeah, and you forgot about the smoked meats. And
smoked meats, yeah.
Yeah, smoked meats. So for those who don't know, and this is mainly for international people, there is a distillery which is probably 2.5 hours away from where we are, Craftworks, called Blackgate Distillery. Been going now 11 years, maybe 12. Yeah, and they make stunning whiskey and stunning rum. And so they have a annual function which is turned into a pilgrimage, which is World Whiskey Day. And so we all sit around a fire, we eat, we drink, we be merry, and we get to try other people's products as well, which is always good. As distillers, there's whiskey drinkers, and as distillers, we're whiskey drinkers as well. And it's just a fun time. So that's what we're doing this weekend.
So that is Saturday night.
Yep.
What's the day? The 15th of May, 2021. Yep. I believe there's still tickets there, so if anyone's listening and they are undecided what to do this weekend, come along and join us.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yes. Right. So we can't even take any questions, unfortunately. We lost our IT guy. So let's have a conversation about. So I'm a distiller, and say again.
That you are.
That I am. But when I started, I put myself under a self-imposed apprenticeship for 3 years. I refused to call myself a distiller. I was an apprentice distiller. And Todd was the apprentice's apprentice. And just fairly recently, he's been promoted to apprentice because I've taken myself off my apprenticeship. So I'm now a distiller, and Todd is the apprentice distiller.
Mm-hmm.
So, Todd,
yes.
What would you say has been some of your biggest learnings in what you're doing?
Surprise!
Are you back?
He's back.
All right, let's see how we go now.
We'll come back to that one, Todd, because that's a very good question, unfortunately.
Phew, I get to have a little think about it now.
That's your
hard question.
Go. No? We see William.
We've got black. Here we go.
Oh, we're back? And we're out.
Oh, they are in the real backwaters of Tassie, aren't they?
They are, actually. They are. Not far from Port Arthur. We may be rescheduling another interview.
We may have to reschedule, absolutely. Let's I'll leave you to finish that conversation.
Hey, how do we get any comments from Luke before you shoot off? How do we get comments from the audience if there's any questions. So
I'm just trying to log into Facebook at the moment to grab some of
All
these.
right, so
I'll
Todd,
flick them up on the screen as they come in.
Oh, even
Okay,
better. Okay, good. All right.
Yep.
Boy, this
I'll
is
flick 'em up.
real thinking on your feet sort of stuff here.
Oh yeah,
Sure
good luck.
is. Especially if you see
I need a whiskey.
a question come up on the screen. It's like, who answers that?
Right. All right, you go sort it out, Luke.
All right.
If you want. All right. So yeah, go back to that question. So, what'd you learn? What's been some of your biggest learnings?
Look, every time I go to the shed is a bit of a learning. You tend to walk away with some new knowledge, but some of the step changes, I guess, was working out about how to do the wash at the start of the runs. To do the first brew.
Yeah.
That was a fairly big learning. I just don't know if I've necessarily got that yet. When I'm left to my own devices, I still manage to do a real job on it. But it's been a big learning, that one.
So what for those who want to know a bit about the process, what Todd's actually referring to is the making of the wash. So the making of the wash is basically brewing, and I totally agree with Todd. The brewing side of it is very, very involved, particularly the way that we do it, because there's no automation. It's
Very
milled,
hands-on.
brewed. It's very hands-on. These hands touch everything, and there's a lot of variability in the process. And so from one batch to the next, you think you've got parameters under control, and you can have quite different yields. So it's yeah. So we've got a question. Might help if I put my glasses on.
That's from Jay. Can
Yeah,
I become a new apprentice's apprentice?
The new apprentice.
I'm happy to have someone out there to boss around.
Yeah, to answer that question, look, we're a very open, transparent distillery, and we like having visitors, and we show them. We're pretty transparent. We'll show you how we make the product, and sometimes people can get hands on. It does present its challenges because it is a work environment, and you've got to be careful of what you're doing, what you're touching. You can burn yourself, you can trip. So yeah, we're always mindful of that. But yeah, good question. The apprentice's apprentice.
So,
all right.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get them on tonight. We're going to have to reorganize to do a audio only, I think, at some point soon. The guys are in a bit of a black hole when it comes to mobile reception and internet, and we've just tried both Telstra and Optus and their Wi-Fi, and we're not getting anywhere.
And we can't even do an audio with it.
Yeah, so we'll have to reschedule, and we'll figure out our technology with them a different way. But yeah, we're technology's failing us at the moment. Even though Tassie were the first to get the NBN, obviously it doesn't stretch everywhere.
Bugger.
All right.
Now that's a shame, because for me personally, Bill was the very first distiller that I really reached out to, and so obviously I met Bill in Tassie. I met Bill at Salamanca Market, and I was just walking through Salamanca Market, and they had this little wee whiskey stand, and they had this brand. I think it was called Three Capes from memory. Any Australian whiskey aficionados would know that one. So if I'm right, let me know. If I'm wrong, let me know. Anyway, and it was almost like an independent bottling. So Bill wasn't set up at that stage to have anything released of his whiskey. So I met Bill, and I asked a lot of questions. I was fascinated by whiskey. And then I met him again, and he remembered me. God knows why, but he remembered me. And
you're a pretty memorable fellow.
Oh, anyway, and then I was starting to get into independent bottling. This was before I actually got into independent bottling, and I was down in Tassie, and it was a whiskey trip that Bertie Carson from the Whiskey List had organised, and it was a road trip. So it was very good. We went to we went all over. Went to Sullivan's Cove and other places. So it is 3 Capes. Thank you. I appreciate that, Nathan. Yes, hold on to it, mate. I've got a couple of bottles. No, I've only got 2 bottles left, in fact. Anyway, so I contacted Bill, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, "Come and see me." So I spent half a day with Bill, and tomorrow I'll post a photo actually on Instagram of me and Bill. It's one of the first whiskey photos for me in the industry. And he went through everything with me. He was very transparent. He went through things like, he said, if you're getting your labels printed, don't go and get a whole lot of labels printed because you'll change your designs. You don't want to be left with old stock. Your bottle selection is important. And he was the one that said, look for interesting casks. So just don't go for your standard cask when you're new. Go for something a little bit different and interesting. And I did. Absolutely did. And Bill's been in the industry a long time. I think he's classed as second wave distillers. Like first wave is Bill and Spike, and I think Cam falls into that category from Lime Burners as well. I think Bill was I think he's second. Don't quote me on that. I'm rabbiting on here, completely unrehearsed, as you can tell. So I thought it'd be really cool to have a chat with Bill and his offsider, B2, because it's B1 and B2, and they've been together for a long time, and they've built a fantastic distillery. So if you're down in Tassie and you want to get around a few distilleries, McHenry's distillery is definitely one you want to check out. So what's some comments? This is from Andrew Young. This is our good friend from the cooperage from South Australia. Bill rocked up to my cooperage with Mark Nicholson. The rest is history. Yeah. He's talking about the other Bill. He's talking about Mr. Bill Lark, the godfather of our industry. So, so obviously we can't talk about Bill. So let's go back to the whole apprentice thing. So, Todd, you're saying the brewing side of it.
Having a 2AC that I could talk to.
Say again?
I was looking forward to having a right-hand man I could talk to.
A brother in arms.
A brother in arms.
Yeah, and when I say something, you would turn to him and go, don't listen to him. He really doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one thing you can't take yourself too serious.
Oh, no, you can't. What was your experience with whiskey before joining with Crafty?
For me?
Yeah.
I think I've shared this with a few things. My experience with joining whiskey is that I started drinking whiskey as a teenager so that I would actually have something to drink throughout the night without people pinching all throughout the night. Because no one liked the taste of whiskey, and I didn't mind it, so I started off drinking whiskey that way.
Yeah, right. And then just decided to get into the whiskey business, or start your own distillery, or what was the...
I think it was just timely for me and Crafty reconnecting after something like 20 years of sort of doing our own thing. So, because for those that don't know, Crafty and my wife Kathy worked together 20 odd years ago at DIC. At the time, it was Coat Sinks, and they went their own ways. And then Kathy and Crafty met up again at a Christmas party, and basically that sort of set my fate.
Literally is history.
That is. And we've been happily working in the shed side by side for the last 3 years, I guess now, isn't it? It's
up. It is. It's 3 years. And it's very, very interesting. People say, you know, you're living the dream, and in a lot of ways you are living the dream. Absolutely. I mean, there's some days in the shed where, you know, I can crank the music up loud, I can rip into something, whether it's a distillation, a brew, or whatever, and I'm just on cloud nine. You know, beautiful sunny day. I can go to the pub and have a beer if I want, and you go, how good is this?
Yeah.
But on the flip, you can have it at 3 a.m. Everything's going wrong. Pumps are blocked.
Oh yeah.
You're pulling stuff out. You know, we had a session.
Some of our earlier brews, remember, we were still trying to get them out of the blooming mash tun at 3 a.m.
We weren't milling correctly, so we make too much flour. So we were just gunging things up. We're actually bucketing it out of a 4,000 litre wine tank. So that was a fun experience. We had a great experience 2 years ago when all of a sudden one bee decided that malt was cool and it was tasty, and then one bee became, I don't know, 100 bees.
Well, he told his mates, and all of a sudden we had the whole tribe there.
So you're trying to mash, and you're stirring, and you're going like this, and you're going like this. And
oh no!
Prior to that, it was milling. They loved
Milling.
the smell. So
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So you're tipping in the grain into the mill, and you're just absolutely surrounded by bees.
Yeah.
And, if you're scared of bees, it definitely wasn't the place to be. I can tell you.
No. Right now, one of the biggest challenges it's a big challenge we've got is, you've all heard of the mouse plague. So the mouse plague is very real. We are not too bad where we are, but down the valley. So we're on the ridge. We're on the ridge of the Capity Valley. Down the valley, it's absolutely shocking. You're hearing real horror stories with the mouse plague. But I was on the phone yesterday, and I was at the doorway, and I just watched this mouse, and it was just walking in front of the door, and I was going, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't. And it just looked at me and just walked straight through and straight into the shed. Like, oh,
this is my shed.
they're not shy, I tell you, and I've had it before. I had one a couple of weeks ago. It was in the shed, and it was really slow, so I'm pushing it with the broom, and seriously, it's turned its head, and it was like, fuck off, I'll do it when I want. Just leave me alone.
Was that a drunk mouse or something, just having a little moment?
Might have been a poison mouse, I don't know.
Yeah. I've seen even just today, I've seen more footage of the mouse plague and just them running down rooftops into buckets in their hundreds of thousands. It's just incredible. It's going to be interesting to see how it's dealt with. I mean, I think Blackgate, they're in the thick of it, aren't they?
They are. Actually, Brian and Janice put an email out yesterday to say, if you're coming to the World Whisky Day, don't bring in your dogs or don't bring your pets, because they've laid bait trying to keep things under control. Because, you know, what are we working with? We're working with barley or rye or whatever. And I mill outside. And I sometimes don't quite get the timing right, so my buckets overflow. So there can be a pile of malt just sitting on the floor. So yeah, no, it's a problem. I was in Golgong, which is about half an hour out of Mudgee, and driving at night, and you could just see them on the road. They were walking all over the road like this, and it was very, very strange. So yeah, that's
hopefully the cold weather will knock them off a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah.
How do you end up storing your grain? Because you've got a lot of it, obviously, at any given time. How do you store it to keep it away from them?
On a pallet in the shed, basically.
Yeah, pretty much
Right.
a pallet on the shed. If it's a new pallet, so I basically get a pallet of malt each time, so that's a ton. Go and pick it up with the ute, drop it back down. It's normally wrapped up in heavy plastic, so they struggle to get into that. But if the pallet bags are open, then yeah, they can get it. So you've got to keep an eye on things, keep things lifted up, and yeah, hopefully there's enough grain outside to keep them outside. And we do bait, all distillers bait because you need to. If I was there all the time, I'd have a cat, but I'm not there all the time. So, can't really do that. So, yeah. Any questions from the audience, or have we lost everybody because
no, there are still some people hanging on because they find us interesting. I don't know why.
Because we're in good times.
Well,
we've got the diehards.
All right. Well, I'm going to do a bit of self-promotion because I can. This
yeah,
completely unrehearsed. So this, if you see it, is
Batman.
The Return of Batman. And so this is very, very tied to my philosophy of whiskey making. So what this is I grabbed some spirits and whiskey from Marty Pye from Riverbourne and took it back to my shed and blended it with my whiskey and created a vatting whiskey. So it's a vatting release. So Marty has half the stock, I have half the stock, and I came up with the concept of Batman because during COVID, everybody can see that or not. Everybody needs an alcoholic superhero in their life. That was the thinking behind Batman. And so a friend of mine is a cartoonist, so he drew Batman. Hence, that's Batman. And people thought it was me. And I go, no, it's not me. It's Batman.
Yeah, I was going to say that's Crafty in the front there.
No, it's not me. So on one side is me, and on the other side is Marty. And so it's it's a collaboration. Now I love those sort of projects. I love that sort of collaboration, and I'll be doing it with other distilleries as well. We're not the only ones who are doing it. Flurio and Blackgate have done it with Country to Coast. Fantastic release, and hopefully this weekend there'll be some on pour at Blackgate. And I think that sort of thinking and that sort of approach is really interesting. It's pushing new ground, and in Australia, I think there's going to be a lot more of it, which really excites me. That distillers working with other distillers, because if you have your spirit and you have your flavour profile, and you're using your barrels to craft your whiskey. But if you're using an array of different spirits and different flavour profiles, then it means you can make other combinations, which each distiller wouldn't make in their own right. So it's
as we've been discovering, vatting is a skill in itself. And definitely
vatting and blending, I think, are almost underappreciated. There's the whiskey snobs out there who say that all single malt is the be all and end all, but that's not the case.
No, I agree. You can have high quality blends. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most coveted blend is the Johnny Walker Blue Label, which is a massive blend, as with almost every other Johnny Walker that's out there, is actually a blend, and they are loved by many. So yeah, for people to say that, blending and vatting isn't as I guess valid or as good as a single malt, I think is a little short-sighted personally.
I think some of it stems from the fact that barley is considered the most flavoursome cereal in the world. And so, and it is. I mean, there's so many flavour compounds that you can derive from barley. But when you bring it in with rye, or you bring it in with corn, or any other cereal grain, it changes. You can do many, many different things. And then if you then start talking about toasting and roasting and smoking, that's a whole different ball game as well. So that's the exciting thing.
As we see with brewing, brewing a beer and all the various combinations that are available from a beer perspective. And I mean, the craft beer industry in Australia has gone absolutely nuts over the last few years.
Yeah.
But all of it is driven by the different malts that are available.
Yeah, agree.
And then you've got the barrel and the hops influences, of course.
Yeah.
So there's the same array of flavour.
It is. It's one of the things that I'm fascinated with and done quite a deep dive is how the American distillation, the American whiskey, and I'm talking single malt style, I'm not talking bourbon style, and has been built on the back of US craft brewers. And so what's happened is, they put a lot of emphasis on the grain and the flavor profile of the grain and the brewing process, because they've got all that knowledge and understanding of making fantastic craft beers. And then they apply that into distillation to make craft spirits. It's a very different approach than the traditional Scottish approach. And so you've got, in America, you've got great ones like West and Corsair Distillery. Corsair is a good example because Corsair, so transparent. They released a book in, I think it was 2011, and it was called Alt Whiskies. And that Alt Whiskies book is a Bible for a lot of distillers because it's total transparency on their mash bills and taking beer recipes and turning them into whiskies. It's exciting stuff, absolutely exciting stuff. People like me and other distillers, you take that sort of information. So the beer aspect is really exciting. And I think in Australia, you're going to see more and more of that sort of approach to making whiskey. As craft brewers start to realise, hey, we've got all the equipment we need to make whiskey. We just got to go and get a still. It's bolt a still on and away you go.
So with the basis of a good whiskey being a good beer,
yep,
and the components of that being extremely well known and extremely well experimented with over the thousands of years of human alcoholic consumption history, why would you hide or keep close to your chest your specific mash bill or your specific sort of formula for your beer when you've still got the influences of the barrels that you're using, the location, the temperature of your of your warehouse versus, I mean, you in Capity, you've got a very different weather profile to McHenry's down in Tassie at Port Arthur there. So you could run the same mash bill in theoretically the same casks, but it come up with an entirely different product.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. It's, your mash bill is important. And having a good grasp of your, what your grains can do, what your recipe does. But I agree with you. You could take a recipe and you could give it to another distiller and say, you make it exactly the same as me, and they wouldn't be able to. Their water's different, their temperatures are different, their equipment is different.
Yeah,
the still's different. The cuts, the way you cut, when you do your distillations would be subtly different, or maybe vastly different. The time of the day, there's so many variables, and
quality of the water.
The water, yeast, you're using the same yeast, perhaps not. I mean, if you take Adams Distillery down in Tasmania, they're very, very transparent on what malts they use. Other distilleries are very transparent. We're quite transparent. We use 100% Voyager craft malt. The recipe is predominantly schooner malt.
It's a bit hard to hide it since this bag is wrapper.
So again?
It's a bit hard to hide with the bags all over the place.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's enough. You can work out our recipe pretty easily. But schooner malt, we use 2 types of schooner malt, 2 roasting levels. We use chocolate malt. We use a malt which is called Crafty Special Roast, which is something that Voyager makes specifically for me, which is just a certain roasting level. So it's a roasted malt. You've got you've got distillers using straight pale malt, using straight Pilsner malt. You've got them blending it with roasted malts. You've got it blending with smoked malts. There's so many different types. Then you get into yeast, and we haven't even started to get into yeast. We used to use 2 yeasts. We used to use distiller's yeast and a brewer's yeast. And now we just use distiller's yeast because we just want to get the brewing side of it as tight as we can and get as much consistency. And once we get to that point, which is quite hard because of the seasons, but once we get to that point, then we'll start playing around a bit with yeast. I was talking to a distillery in the US today, and they're using Saison yeast, Belgium yeast, and they're very, very transparent in what they're doing. So yeasts are exciting.
I mean,
Nathan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, the various flavour profiles you can get just from experimenting with the yeast alone can change it from floral to earthy to everything in between. I certainly from my brewing experience, experimenting with the different yeasts on the same malt backbone, in your vastly different alcohol percentages and flavour profiles. That, I mean, some are good, some are not so good. So that experimentation, though, is great fun.
It is. One of the challenges you've got as a small craft distiller is it takes time before you realise results. And so if you're doing just a single distillation or something like that, it's not enough to really understand what's going on. So I'll give you a good example. I had a fascination with Vike yeast. So Vike is a Norwegian farmhouse yeast, and it's very, very fast from a ferment standpoint. It's known to give you quite a fruity ester profile, and it sounded really, really interesting. So I bought some, and we did a couple of batches, but because it wasn't scientific, we really couldn't really pick much difference. And it was a faster ferment. Maybe it was a bit more fruity. Would you change over to it? No, not based on that. Should we have done a more scientific approach? Yes, but we had other variables that we were combating at the same time. So like yeast is off the table, Todd, for 2020 and 21, I should say, 21. Yeah.
Hey, we tried it, so we can move on.
There's plenty of time, and there will be more yeast coming out all the time as well.
Well, Vike is very interesting yeast. And I know Gareth Andrews.
So is it Vike or Kivek or Kevek? Depending on how you pronounce it.
I pronounce it Vike. Some people pronounce it Kvike. But 3 years ago, when I first became aware of Vike yeast, there was nothing on the net, absolutely nothing. Now, there's so much information. You get on YouTube and you can deep dive that, and brewers love it because it helps with their throughput. They're not filling up their vessels, and the same principle could be applied to distilling as well. And the flavour generation, that high ester fruity profile is quite appealing to distillers. So yeah. But then you get into barrels. I mean, barrels are wow. There's so much to barrels. You've got barrels toasting in char. You've got barrels which are just charred. You've got your fortified barrels. You've got your wine barrels. I'm a big believer in layering up flavors. So what's been in the barrel, then what's been in the barrel after that, and what's been in the barrel after that. So if you take, for example, a whiskey cask and turn it into a beer cask, and then turn it back into a whiskey cask. That's got interesting flavour generation.
Well, that's so. Just on that, there's obviously a lot happening with it, and our friends down at Hobart Distillery, I think they've just announced their next
beer
release
casks.
of their beer casks as well, which
John
I'm lucky
Jarvis
to have my little samplers of here.
Yeah, nice.
And certainly the way that distillers now are using the beer casks to create things that are just mind-blowingly different to what you would normally expect is quite amazing. Yeah, it's hugely exciting. And then experimenting with things like the ginger beer cask.
Yeah.
Just to give that real spiciness that you would normally associate with a rye into your whiskey.
I managed to get one of those, by the way.
Yeah. We got to taste that. I tasted Starwood's ginger cask first release.
I haven't tried that one.
Well, the original one, it was an oak barrel tasting, and it was so different and so interesting. And so, Todd, you've got the latest release. What batch number is that?
I think it's release 6. It went into what is it?
Ginger cask?
Yeah.
Ginger.
Yeah, but you had to go into a ballot. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's so sought after. It's something very, very different. And people want that. They want to try different things.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see Starwood's rise to popularity over the recent years, and the desirability of their bottles is now, from a sellout perspective, similar to that of Sullivan's Cove. They put out a release, and it's pretty well gone within minutes.
Yeah,
and you've got to go to balance to get it.
It is. The one thing I really like about Starwood as well, this is just my own personal opinion, when they brought out Twofold, it was a really interesting whiskey, and it was a really interesting approach, and it was a really interesting price point.
Yeah.
And there was two schools of thought in the local industry. There was, they're dragging the price down. It's not good for the industry. And the other school of thought was, no, it's good, because what it does is it closes the gap on the internationals. So if you've got a customer who buys, say, Johnny Walker Black, for example, it's not that hard for them to push to actually try an Australian whiskey. So they try a Starwood and go, hey, this is good. For people like me, it's good, because what happens is you're pulling more people into the category of trying Australian whiskies. And once people start to try Australian whiskies, they want to explore. So they might start with a Starwood Twofold and go, hey, that's good, I like that. What else is in Starwood's range? They try the more expensive Starwoods and the higher quality ones, and then they go, well, what else is out there? Oh, who's this Craftworks? Who's this Corolla? Who's this Lime Burners? And it's good for the industry. So I fall into the camp of
down the rabbit hole you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's a lot of great product in Australia, and there's a lot of people that go, it's not in Tasmania, it's no good. And I tell you, I don't fall into that camp. The mainlanders are absolutely smashing it. They really are, and the Tasmanians are acknowledging it as well. And the Tasmanians are making
Australia's making some really good whiskies, and
Australia's making some good whiskies. Yes, agree.
Yeah, and we're doing well in the competitions around the world as well. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, look at
London.
London Spirits. I mean, we picked up the bronze for our first release, which is pretty awesome. There was the San Francisco Spirits competition, which is a very important competition on the global stage, and Australia cleaned up really well there.
We're making a name for ourselves around the world. So
Australia's punching above its weight.
Watch this space.
And definitely. Yeah. Well, no more questions out there in audience, no?
No, we're not getting much come through at the moment. I
No.
think everyone's a little disappointed we couldn't get Bill and Bill on.
Yeah, I'm not as
but
exciting as
definitely-
Bill.
But we
Get sick of
will
me.
reorganise and we'll get them on. So our next chat will
Yes.
be with our good friend Alex. So we've got that on the 20th from memory.
And where's Alex from?
Well, Alex she's from everywhere, really, isn't she? She's
Whiskey
Jean.
Culture, Whiskey Round Table, Moynia. She's the powerhouse of Moynia, and other things as well. The Speakeasy Group. And we will see Alex at Blackgate. Sorry,
Is
Todd?
it the 20th or the 20th? Is it the 20th or the 27th? Just a question.
I don't know. No one's told me yet.
It's normally 2 weeks apart, so the 20th is next Thursday.
Have to check the diary. I don't know.
Let's check. Yeah, I think I've got it here. Let me bring it up.
Let everyone
But I'm
know.
looking forward to that. So we've got that on the May the 20th. Oh, we lost you for a moment there, Todd.
No, he's back.
So that'll certainly be an interesting chat.
Yeah.
Looking forward to diving a bit more into, well, basically all the different pies she's got her fingers in.
Yeah. And then we've got more people lined up. So shortly we're going to be interviewing Mr. Alan Bishop from Spirit of the French Lick, Indiana, USA. He is a man of immense passion and knowledge, and calls bullshit. He's not shy to call bullshit. So we're going to have a good chat with Alan at some stage. Who else have we got coming up? I'll have to check the diary, but we've actually got. Sorry,
it'll be a bourbon night for us, I think.
Yeah, we probably will be actually. And yeah, no, we've got many others as well. So shooting the shit is not going anywhere. Actually, we might finish up with just a little something. So we're trying to build our reach on shooting the shit, because shooting the shit is about telling Australian stories mainly with distillers, but also people in the industry and some internationals as well. And we want to build out the podcast. We want to build out the YouTube channel. And so we're going to, we want to get to 800. That's our target. And you go, you've only got about 80. You go, yeah, it's a big number. We know. We set it high. We know. However, we have something that's going to be on offer soon, which has been donated, and I will tell you now what it is. So Mr. Andrew Young from YN Cooperage down in Barossa has donated a day at the cooperage learning how to make a barrel, fire, steam, the whole visceral experience with Andrew there the whole time. And you walk out the door with a barrel, your own barrel that you've made. Now that is worth $2,000.
Whoa.
Andrew has donated it to us. So our target is to hit 800. Once we hit 800, one of our followers will receive that as a prize. And that is one amazing offer.
We're not eligible.
That's how we're going to do it. That's going to be
We're not eligible, are we?
Oh, good.
No. Sorry, it doesn't work like that.
Oh, man.
So, guys, it is, if you've not been to the cooperage, and a lot of you wouldn't know, I'm sure, going to a cooperage is an amazing experience. It's a very tactile experience, very visceral. It's fire, it's smoke, it's steam, it's heat, it's bending wood, it's compression, there's no machines. This is all handmade stuff. So how cool is that? So spread the word. We get to 800, then we will work out how we do it technically, how we pick someone. So I don't know how we do that, Luke. That's your department, and you didn't know that, but
Well,
We'll find it in the cemetery. So yeah, guys,
That's
it's out
it.
there.
That's it. Spread the word. The more people we get,
Yep.
the
The
faster we get to do this. That's wicked.
It is. It's incredibly generous of the man.
Yeah.
Yes, Robbie. Yes, you're not right, mate. Mate, I'm sure you've been to a cooperage or two too, so you can relate to what I'm talking about there. So we will be putting some information. We'll post some information on the Facebook page about it. We'll put some links in. So those who don't know Andrew, he's a master cooper, larger than life character, and he's a good friend of ours. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I talk to him very regularly, and we use a lot of his barrels. So Rachel from Isla Whiskey Academy. So I'm sure you've been to a cooperage or two too, so you can relate to it.
Oh, Todd, you've got
cracking.
That's you. Turn it off. That's you. So since we've got Rachel on,
he's monitoring the chat, and at the same time,
all right.
playing. So we've got hello, Rachel.
Hello, Rachel. So we've got Rachel. So Rachel's a good friend of ours. She is from Isla. She knows a lot of people on Isla. She's in the industry, and Rachel runs the Isla Whiskey Academy, which is a training academy. A very, very deep dive technical into all things Scotch. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. It's an online course as well, and she runs courses there on Isla as well, and good friends with Jim McEwen. So when you got friends like that, you don't need people like us. So Rachel, thanks for joining us. All right, guys, I think we call it. We've managed to pad it out to 51 minutes, considering we don't have a guest. How good is that? So it's not time to call it. The pub's closed, and I've got to go. I've got to get back, and I've got to actually shovel out some spent grain because I'm brewing in the morning, Todd. So
all right. Well, I for one, I'm certainly looking forward to coming and seeing the shed tomorrow, finally, and then heading off to Blackgate on Saturday morning for the World Whisky Day festivities out there. Can't wait for that one. We will be taking a whole heap of recording gear and trying to round up as many off-the-cuff interviews as we possibly can. I'm thinking I might just whack a microphone on the two of you that you can just have recording at all times, and we'll see what comes out.
Oh, God. We're there to relax too, Luke. Remember that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, no, we'll have some fun. It'll be good, guys.
So,
all right, I got to go.
So make sure everyone follow, like. We've got to get to the 800. That's a wicked prize. I'm quite annoyed that I'm not eligible, but them's the breaks.
Well, it goes.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, guys. See ya.
Catches. Bye.
Bye.